Hello guys, welcome to our channel Advocate Unplugged. Guys, today we'll discuss about Article 13 of the Constitution. But before doing that, if supposing you have not subscribed our channel, I will request you to subscribe the channel. Guys, Article 13 basically deals with supremacy of the fundamental rights over any other law in case of inconsistency. Thereby meaning that if supposing there is any law which is inconsistent with the fundamental rights, that will be void. Guys, Article 13 says that laws inconsistent with or in derogation of the fundamental right. Clause 1 of the article says that all laws in force in the territory of India immediately before the commencement of this constitution, insofar as they are inconsistent with the provisions of this part, shall to the extent of such inconsistency be void. Guys, Article 372 of the Constitution says that all laws in force in India before the commencement of the Constitution shall continue in force until altered or repealed or amended by the competent legislature or other competent authority. It means those laws which were there prior to the commencement of the Constitution will remain in force until and unless they are not in derogation with the fundamental rights. Guys, while interpreting this clause, we should keep following principles in mind, that whether it is having a retrospective effect or not. Guys, thereby meaning that what will happen to the cases which were pending before the commencement of the constitution. So guys, in the case of called Keshava Madhav Menon versus State of Bombay, the proceedings were started against the person prior to the commencement of the constitution, and he took the plea that they were inconsistent with the fundamental rights conferred by the constitution, and therefore while by applying article 13(1) of the constitution, the proceeding should be dropped. The court in this case held that no, the article 13(1) is not having a retrospective effect, and it is only having a prospective effect, that is it will apply to only those cases which came after 26 January 1950. Guys, now we'll discuss about the rule of severability. Basically, what will happen to the act if supposing certain provisions of the act are in derogation with the fundamental rights. So guys, rule of severability says that whole of the act does not become inoperative, while the provisions which are inconsistent or violative of the fundamental rights, only those become inconsistent. Basically, rule of severability is a kind of a filter. It separates the laws which are inconsistent with the fundamental rights and those which are consistent with the fundamental rights. Basically, it means that if a law is inconsistent, if any part of the act is inconsistent with the fundamental rights, then only that part will be served from the whole act. There was a case in state of Bombay versus FN Balsara. There were 8 sections of the Bombay Prohibition Act 1940 which were ultra vires on the ground that they infringe the fundamental rights of the citizens. But the act minus the provisions was allowed to be valid. The court said that the decision declaring some of the portion of the act to be invalid does not affect the validity of the whole act, thereby meaning that invalidity is only to the extent of inconsistency. Guys, now we'll discuss the third principle, that is doctrine of eclipse. Basically, doctrine of eclipse is similar to an eclipse, in which if supposing when earth or moon comes in between and it shadows that part and which is not being seen, that doesn't mean that that becomes dead. Basically, this says that if supposing any law which is inconsistent with the fundamental right, then that time the law will be overshadowed by the fundamental right and that will remain dormant. Basically, it means that the law is not become nullity, but it will become a dormant. And if supposing that inconsistency is removed by later on amending the act or something like that, then that act will become operative, that law also will become operative. The best example is the Supreme Court decision in Bhikaji Narayan Dharkas versus State of MP. In this case, an existing state law authorized the state government to exclude all private motor transport operators from the field of transport business. Part of the act became void from the commencement of the constitution, as it was violative of the article 19 of the constitution. Later on, there was an amendment which was the constitutional first amendment, which was done in 1951, and it permitted the government to monopolize the business. The Supreme Court held that after the amendment of clause 6 of the article 19 on June 18, 1951, the constitutional impediment was removed and the impugned act ceased to be unconstitutional and became operative. That means if supposing that was behind, means if suppose when it was against the fundamental right, then it was in a dormant position. As soon as that impediment has been removed, that again the act completely becomes operational. So guys, these were the principles which were there, that is whether the act is having a retrospective effect or doctrine of severability or doctrine of eclipse. While interpreting the clause, we should keep these in mind, and if supposing anything is in derogation with the fundamental rights, then that part will go away. Guys, now we'll discuss about the clause 2 of the article 13 of the constitution. Basically, this clause states that the state shall not make any law which takes away or abridges the rights conferred by this part, and any law made in contravention of this clause shall to the extent of the contravention be void. Guys, basically this clause talks about the post constitutional law. Guys, clause 1 talks about the pre constitutional law and clause 2 talks about the post constitutional law, and both states that if there is any derogation with the fundamental rights, then the law to the extent of the derogation be void. Guys, basically article 13(2) says that if supposing any law is made which abridges the rights conferred by this part, then that law to the extent of the contravention be void, meaning thereby the whole law will not go away, the part which is in contravention with the fundamental rights will go away. Guys, whether the fundamental rights can be waived or not came into consideration in the case of Basheshwar Nath versus Commissioner Income Tax. Guys, the facts of the case were that the petitioner's case was referred to IT Investigation Commissioner under section 5(1) of the IT Act. He was found to have concealed a large amount of income, and thereupon he entered into a settlement with the IT department to pay the tax and penalty in monthly installments. Later on, there was in another case, section 5(1) was declared ultra virus of article 14 of the constitution. The person challenged the settlement, stating that now this section 5(1) has become ultra virus against the article 14 of the constitution, then he is not going to pay the money, whereas the department contended that since the settlement has been made, he has to pay the money and he has waived his fundamental right by making the settlement. The court in this case held that the doctrine of waiver is not applicable and therefore the settlement was void. So guys, both the clause 1 and 2 deals with the supremacy of the fundamental rights and states that if any law, whether which was made prior to the commencement of the constitution or after the commencement of the constitution, is in derogation with the fundamental rights, then the law to the extent of such derogation will be void. Guys, now we will discuss about clause 3 of the article 13 of the constitution, which basically deals with the law, and it gives the inclusive definition, and it states that law includes any ordinance, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification, custom or usage having in the territory of India the force of law, thereby meaning that any law thereby it says that, or if supposing any ordinance has been passed, any bylaw has been made, regulations have been made, even if supposing a custom which is having a force of law in the territory of India will be a law. Subclause B says that law in force includes law passed or made by the legislature or other competent authority in the territory of India before the commencement of the constitution and not previously repealed, notwithstanding that any such law or any part thereof may not be then in operation either at all or in particular areas. Basically, it talks about the law in force includes the laws which were made by the legislature or other competent authorities in the territory of India before the commencement of the constitution, means those laws which were pre-constitutional laws and which have not been repealed. So guys, clause 3 deals with the laws, what is the meaning of law and what is included in the law. Now we'll discuss about the clause 4 of the article 13 of the constitution, which says that nothing in this article shall apply to any amendment of this constitution made under article 368. Guys, as you are aware that parliament has a power to amend the constitution as per the provisions of article 368 of the constitution. Well guys, what will be the position if supposing the amendment abridges the fundamental right of an individual or a citizen? Guys, this came into contention first time in Sankri Prasad versus Union of India, in which the first amendment act 1951 was challenged. Guys, the Supreme Court rejected the contention and held that the word law in clause 3 did not include a law made by the parliament under article 368 amending the constitution, thereby meaning that if supposing any amendment is made and is violative of the fundamental rights, then that will be not affected by the clause 1 and 2 of the constitution. Guys, later on in Golaknath case, it was held that the word law in clause 2 of article 13 included the amendments of the constitution, and consequently if any amendment abridges or takes away a fundamental right granted by part 3 of the constitution, the amending act itself would be void and ultra vires. Guys, subsequently in Keshwanand Bharti versus State of Kerala, the Supreme Court overruled the Golaknath case judgment, and it was held that 24th amendment, which inserted clause 4 in article 13, was a valid. Guys, however, the majority held that if supposing the provisions affect the basic structure or framework of the constitution, then it could not be amended. Therefore, even if an amendment of a constitution is not a law within the meaning of article 13, that does not absolve it from being invalidated on the ground that violating a fundamental right, it violates the basic structure of the constitution, thereby meaning that if any law which is violative of the basic structure of the constitution, then and it is violating the fundamental right of the individual or of a citizen, then that law can also be invalidated. Guys, this was all in relation to article 13 of the constitution. Guys, if you really liked the video, I will request you to please subscribe and share the video. Thanks.